Good morning.
Yeah. Is it?
It's a Monday. We're in the studio. It's a Monday.
Okay, it is Monday.
Not when you're listening to this.
Probably. I know, right? I found this this clip that we're going to share with our audience today by Sebastian, and I thought just as I saw this, it kind of resonated with me. Just as we're looking at how the organization is run, as we're looking for leaders with a growth mindset, we're looking to help just everybody just be a better leader within themselves. Yeah. And when he talks about the relationships, the accolades, the growth, the money, I think it's really important just as we listen to this clip, think about what really matters to you, and does your mind shift a little bit as we listen to this?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I like to ask the question when I'm interviewing people, which one is most important to you? Making money, growing, accolades and recognition, or relationships? You can just write it on a grid. Which one of the 4 of these is most important to you? There's only one right answer. And I might say, here's 10 credits. Split those 10 credits on the board the way you see is most important to you. Relationships, accolades, money, or growing. Now, what is the only correct answer there? Why? Because if you're focused on growing, you will improve all of the others. You don't have a choice. It will happen. Which is why I'm obsessed with people that want to grow.
So, what did you think?
Oh, Sebastian. he's one of my favorites too. I like his clips. Yeah. But absolutely, growth mindset is super important. And for me, that's probably hasn't always been my priority, right? You know, you go through phases in life where maybe one thing's more important than others. But as I've grown in my career, it's apparent that growth mindset wins overall. Because as I've focused on a growth mindset, all those things that he talked about, relationships, you know, accolades and money have kind of grown with it.
Yeah, and I think it is just from becoming and going through some of this stuff over the last, 30 years of the last few years have been.
I didn't mean to laugh at you. 30 years.
30 years
is crazy.
Man, it is crazy. Well, maybe whatever.
I'm like a third of that. But
no, you're exactly right. And, it took a while to figure that out too, because I kind of went through, I think, different phases as far as, hey, I wanted relationships. And then maybe the next few years it was more about accolades and being recognized for the things I was achieving. Early on, especially when I was trying to pay bills, it's all about the money. How do I make more money? And then just as soon as I was able to flip that switch and say growth, right? And I learned more about that growth mindset. I know we've had previous podcasts talking about the growth mindsets and stuff, but this one really does hopefully echo for our listeners. I know it does for me, and I know you've shared the same. But it has to be around how do we be better long term, not just today or tomorrow. And having that growth mindset is just, it's a great way to get us there for that long-term benefit.
Yes. Yeah. It's a great vehicle for long-term success, you know, and like I was saying before, where it was maybe all about accolades. Like I need to be told I'm doing a good job. I need the praise. I need the recognition.
Yep.
Cool. But that's a fleeting moment. And, there's some bigger projects where it's like, oh, this was like, I remember that. But honestly, I'm looking at the whole picture. I'm looking at the 11 years that I have, with you guys, and and one attaboy isn't compared to where I've been placed in the leadership staff or working with you, and that growth shows me more than a fleeting good job.
Yeah, And it's true. People want to be recognized, but it's always on to the next thing afterwards, right? You want to have great relationships because that helps build your people skills and people will want to work for you, but it's just one small moment. And, the people who come to, I want to make more money, like, yes, I do too, right? So what are you going to do long term to help us really show that you're the person who wants to be there? And it kind of got into even with Simon Sinek, where you can't force leadership. And I think we'll play the clip for the audience here in a second. But you can lead the horse to water, but you can't make him drink. It's the same thing, right? Yes, I want to pay you more. Yes, I want you to build relationships. Yes, I want to award and give you the accolades. But we need that consistently, and we need it long term, and we want people who want to grow and want to become the leader that we know they can be.
Yeah, so listen to that clip right now.
You can only lead a horse to water. If somebody just refuses to come, then just back off. They have to want to make the shift themselves. This is my friend George Flynn always says, the first thing to become a leader is you have to want to be a leader. Like, if you don't want to be one, there's nothing I can do.
Yeah. And I'm saying, like, it is. It's really hard. The hardest part for me is seeing it in others who don't want to necessarily flip that switch and become the leader. And there's a lot of conversations around that, right? Like, I want this more than you may want this for yourself, right?
And then as a leader, that's really hard. That's probably like one of the worst feelings, though. I can imagine, right?
Yeah.
Because you can only lead a horse to water. If they don't want it, if they don't want to drink the water, they're not going to. If they don't want to be a leader, they're not going to, even though we can see that they would be a great one, you know? And what I was going to say about kind of this growth mindset thing is it's almost like a signal to other leaders that you are in that mindset, you know, that you are looking to better yourself or to continually grow in your leadership rather than, you know, hey, come here, come drink this water.
Right.
And then they don't want to because they're not a leader.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does. And we can use even some of our inspections as an example of this. So when you're preparing for an inspection, right, like I'm sure everybody has their corporate inspections in some way, and so do we, right? So people will come in for the day and make sure that you're doing everything the way you're supposed to do it. And I think as you're building towards that inspection, are you working with your team to grow them so that way they can produce it every day, or are you trying to accomplish it just for that day? And all of a sudden at the end of it, you're getting your scores, pass, fail, indifferent, right? Hopefully you're learning stuff because guess what? Like your point about the fleeting moment of accolades, it's the same thing about on the inspection. I guarantee you most people will not remember their last inspection scores, yet they've worked so hard to get there.
So hard, yeah.
Yeah.
Those moments, like I said, you know, they're great, but they're quick. And if you're not going to take that information, I think a great leader would take that to their team and be like, look, we got an 89%. Like, don't not give recognition, right? Like, you know, give it where it's due. But the next step is, how do we get to 93? How do we get to 95? How do we get to 100% next time? And work with your team to get there. Yeah. And what I was going to kind of use earlier is leaders want to find other leaders who are being proactive, who have this growth mindset, and who basically are asking about the water. Like, take me to the water. You know? Yeah. You know, not to say that, you know, you can't work with other people to get them to the water too, but I don't know, it's just a thought.
Yeah. Well, and even speaking of that, not everyone was meant to be a leader, but if you want to, then you have to choose to, and you have to choose to want to try to grow, and the rest will follow. I know that it's hard to have that long-term vision, right? Because we live in a what's in it right now for, you know, not just me, not just for you, but for everybody. And that leadership, it's a process and it's a journey and it takes a long time. But the most important thing is you willing to work on yourself and grow where you're willing to grow.
Yeah. It's a journey.
Yeah.
It's a never-ending journey, leadership.
Right? So, yeah, I appreciate you listening to our clip today.
Yes.
I thought it was really good from Sebastian and
Simon.
Yeah, and Simon.
Yeah, it was a good conversation as always.
All right.
Stick around. More to come.
Thanks for joining us on Buns, Burgers, and Big Ideas. We hope today's episode inspired fresh ideas for your leadership journey. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode, and keep learning with us as we continue to explore leadership in the QSR world. Until next time, take care and lead well.